Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Happy Sunday for
Happy
everyone who's listening.
Sunday. So glad to be back. I know it's been a while. Apologies. We've been very bad at keeping up with this.
Yeah.
We would say, yeah, we're very busy with a lot of really cool projects. We could have managed our time better so we could get done the
hmm
podcast, but
Well, we were on holiday and we hope that everyone else enjoyed their holiday, whatever it was that they were celebrating, and New Year's. So, although it's 22 days past the New Year already as we
yeah.
film this, so. um,
Oopsies.
oops. Yeah.
No, but it's for the best because I feel like because we took this time off, we were able to find some fun and upcoming people to talk to on the next few episodes, so you guys don't have to just listen to us yap about our
hmm
like existential crises.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have actual content for you guys. So, I guess the first thing that we just wanted to recap with you guys briefly was actually the product of our 24-hour space. Because our last episode, we talked about the announcement of it, and I think it went very well, but quite differently from what we planned. Um,
Exactly what I said about how live
mhm.
performances are always a shit show.
And I don't even think it was necessarily the shit show, but like we had every hour different sort of events planned, and somehow it ended up turning into like 6 hour spaces that were very like interesting conversation topics. But of those 6 hours, maybe like five of the events that we had planned just like completely got thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Um, that
Which
being said,
but which was amazing because I mean
yeah.
we created like the fun little events for to fill in the gaps of people. I don't, we've underestimated how intelligent this group of people in the space are because they could keep talking for hours and still keep with something like entertaining. So
hmm
that's our bad for underestimating you guys. Next year we're just gonna need 24 hours of just you guys just speak.
Actually, yeah.
Actually, no games or nothing. But we did have some fun at like 3 a.m.
hmm
playing Pictionary.
Oh, I love that actually. And that was when I was just waking up and I was dead tired. And seeing all of these artists like doing little stick figure drawings was like probably the funniest thing ever.
And then our like hour, I like it was like my 4 a.m. But it was just like no one was in the space but you, me, Linnea, and I think like
mhm.
Stenifer, and we were just like traumatized. I think that's where like the delirium kicked in, and I was just like life. And
Yeah.
then I think that we took Sundays or for contemplation a little too far at that 3 a.m. space. And we're just like trauma
hmm
dumping. So apologies for that.
Yeah.
Luckily, no one was there to see.
The 24-hour space, they're still up if you guys want to go through the archive and
just skip that hour, please.
well, yeah, we were getting so deeply into it. But yeah, our I think our space went well and we're excited to host more spaces throughout the year. Maybe we can do one like soon. I'd love to see what the community is currently talking about. There's been a lot of changes and yeah, the world keeps moving. Speaking on that, as both Nicole and I are in our last semester of university,
Yes.
we have also kind of turned a new leaf here, and now we have two
What are you about to
classes.
say?
I was gonna say we have two classes that we share together,
Oh yeah.
which is just kind of funny, and I enjoy having Nicole as my little study buddy. And
It's been good.
yeah, it's been good, but it's bittersweet the ending. I'm just like I'm already seeing it happen, like pass by so fast, and it's nothing like when we first started and everyone wanted to go crazy and
Well,
you
we
know
haven't gotten to that point yet. I feel
yeah.
like a month before graduation, everyone's gonna go crazy. I think once I submit my thesis, or once I not even submit, just once I'm like it's more close to done, I feel a
hmm
lot better. Which that will be coming also soon. Well, Sophie and I
Yeah.
are both writing our theses. Theses?
Yeah. Theses,
Yes.
I guess, is the plural way.
Thesi.
If there's
The
any,
language.
yeah, also if there's any lawyers that are experts in the Web3 space, please reach out to me because I might need you to interview for my thesis.
And I was actually talking to Sinbad about this because he's helping me a bit to kind of structure it and more than structure it, no, because it's more of like finding like data, which is a bit hard.
hmm
So I study international relations, so mine has to be more. It's like not politics based, but to a certain extent. So I'm focusing on digital art and like how it's kind of um, like digital art on blockchain is making it easier for, I guess, artists and individuals to deal with what's it called?
Censorship?
Censorship. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say
Mm-hmm.
freedom of speech, but that's a different kind of thing. And so, I mean, yeah, we're kind of we thought about it. We're like, we could host a space and see how different people are kind of doing it. I don't know how ethical this is, but maybe it'd be a great way to for me to get ideas
Yeah.
and hear everyone's thought from a like an artist perspective, because obviously, like we just see it from like I mean, I don't even know what the fuck we're doing, but but we just see it
It's
from
like
an outside
we're,
perspective.
we're seeing it sort of from like a professional perspective, and now we want to actually analyze the space through an
Academic,
academic
exactly,
perspective.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. And then you're looking at it from that angle, from the more, I think, like social political sort of
Yeah,
standpoint, and then I'm looking at it from a very legal technical standpoint, which is like how different governments across the world are attempting to regulate web3, and not so specifically the digital art community, but kind of the broader themes that are emerging from this space and
blockchain.
everything,
Yeah,
yeah, blockchain, etc. And I still have yet to develop my idea further on. We're in the very beginning stages, so we have that like obstacle coming forth. And I know we'll get through it because we always do.
yeah, and we
But
have you guys to help us too. I know.
exactly.
I know. I was joking with Simba because we were talking about some things, and we are like, "Oh, we could just ask some of my friends." And I was like, "I feel like this is me like creating data because like we or no, some artists that oh well, we have some fun like
Mm,
so with our foundation, we're helping onboard artists that aren't on like chain yet. And for example, I know Simbad's working with a Cuban artist that has always kind of been, or I believe he was exiled from Cuba. I don't know if this is
mm.
public, but whatever. You guys don't know who he is. I'm not gonna say it, but basically, we kind of were helping him like on board. So he's like, "Oh, you can like interview him." And I was like, "I feel like this is so totally like not right because we like turned him into a digital artist, and now I'm gonna be like, okay, like why did you become a digital artist and like
Yeah.
write
No,
it
I
good for
think
my paper."
honestly though, you're getting like primary source data. If you look at it from that
Yeah, it's
perspective.
primary source, but the issue is like we totally manipulated it to like go our way.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I probably won't use that.
Don't let your supervisors listen to
Yeah,
this.
guys, please. This is total.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna get fucked. So I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But
Nicole's just kidding for all intents and
yeah, this is
purposes.
just a joke.
Yeah.
It's not real. The artist doesn't exist. It's just a
Yeah.
theoretical. um, but yeah, so it's interesting to see how like. Well, I mean, yeah, I was also thinking like what academic articles I can find on the
Mm-hmm.
topics, and it's like yes, maybe on technology, but like digital art itself, there's not much.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I was talking to Sim about it. I was like, yeah, like this is like the early stages, and I'm like nowhere near an academic.
Mm-hmm.
I hope one day I can be. I feel like that'd be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But
But I guess it's
it's a
like
long way to go. But
honestly though, like a lot of I think theses around the world right now when it's on such new topics, sometimes it's like the first like piece of research that is out there. And I
yeah,
think because of this community, because it's so like new and blossoming already, there has not been much research, and like your thesis might end up being like one of those first ones to take that
which is
angle to
a
like
little
explore the community.
terrifying. That's a lot of pressure. But oh my god, my thesis gets quoted. It's like
Yeah.
it was all
But you're exploring something new. I mean, it's better
yeah.
than like repeating the same topic
No,
over and
and I think
over
like
again.
that's why yeah, I think that's why I picked it. I think like this is where I'm like academia. I respect it. I have some problem with it. Sometimes it's a little
Mm,
too pretentious and inaccessible, but I really wanted like my topic to be something that I wouldn't be influenced. Well, I guess I already am influenced because I'm part of the community, but I mean like influence from like other academics. So
mm-hmm.
like for example, a lot of my friends are like looking into like the conflict with Syria or like bio
Yeah.
warfare and like a little yeah. And I'm like, guys, I'm doing art. No, but I think censorship is like a very important thing, and I
Yeah.
think one of the main ideas is like that my is that art has always been a critique of whatever environment it's in,
Mm-hmm.
and it always has like naturally combated censorship. So I think now it's just like how is like technology making this more not more efficient, but just what's going on, like because there's not enough
Hmm.
information out there. But yeah, just going on a rant about like my my
No, it's
ideas.
cool. Yeah.
But yeah,
Um, yeah.
I
Well,
don't know if you want to talk about your thesis a bit more.
my thesis is just kind of I'm trying to understand the evolution of the law in the face of something that seems so as unregulated as Web3. And I mean, the more that you study it, you realize that obviously it seems to be like more mapped out. It's, well thought out, but there's a lot of people who haven't necessarily entered into the spaces yet. And like on the blockchain, like there's so much room for innovation. And for example, I'm not going to take it too far into this topic, but I think with recently President Trump's inauguration, the idea of like the blockchain, crypto, etc., is gonna be coming more into the mainstream because he's giving so much attention to it, and like the specific people that he's decided to provide attention to, like for example, Elon Musk is vocal about crypto, and being vocal about crypto is also being vocal about blockchain and any other emerging technology. And the law will always can only progress as much as society is progressing, and it's always a few steps behind. And I'll give you, like, for example, a case that we learned in my first year of studying law at university was when these electric scooters all became the new fad in Madrid or any other city, right? At first, the only way that they could regulate these electric scooters was by comparing them to bike lanes or maybe small motorized vehicles, because it was such a new fad. And like, I guess it's not a new technology, but it was like the newest thing at the time. You could only base the regulation on that specific innovation with something that existed. And with emerging technologies, because it's innovating so rapidly, and we're seeing some things with like generative AI that's like unprecedented in the use of humans, and like the algorithms picking them up so quickly and everything, and then they're just morphing into these other things. We're like seeing court cases that are just the first ones, setting the precedent to other cases. So I just kind of want to take a sort of analytical look at all of this. And I feel like once I start putting more research into it and articulating my thoughts a lot better, this is going to be a much more well formed opinion. But that's basically the gist of what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, we both picked challenging topics, but
Hopefully, something that can bring also like new light into the space,
yeah,
and just like if one person reads our thesis, they can learn something new, and we can
yeah,
also bring something of.
exactly. It's not like that's what I'm saying. That's what I was afraid of. Is like a lot. I think it's for topics that are like massively covered or massively. Is that the right way to say it? Yes.
Yeah, we could.
There's just again like your opinion gets so influenced by what's already out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and your research does too, and like what kind of data you look at. But since like all the data right now is just like scattered for
Mm-hmm.
both of us, it's gonna be like a fun little like treasure hunt
Yeah,
for the
and
right answer, if there is a right answer.
yeah, and I think that's why also maybe going to interviews would be very fascinating, because I don't. I mean, partially this is probably just because I'm young, but like I don't know many lawyers that are very specialized in crypto or Web3, and I don't know how much of that, like it's so new. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
moving on
So
from our
moving on from
theses.
our what's been on our mind all day today.
Yeah. Um, just talking more about the foundation's activities, we have commenced already our 8-week residency in collaboration with Linda Global and Treinta Campos Elíseos, for the Primavera Digitale Art Festival. And so far, we've had 2 sessions so far, and the next session will actually be coming out on Sunday. So today, if you're listening to it. Um, and yeah, we're actually going to have lined up for our next two podcast episodes interviews with two artists who are part of the residency and who are so intelligent, and just I'm fascinated to interview them and to share their experience of the residency and how everything is going. But as far as this goes, all of the artists are going to be exhibited in Florence, I think, on the first day of the festival.
Mhm.
And we're just having such enlightening discussions. Like, I think it was Robbie Shilstone who had said in the last session, this is just something that resonated me with super well. But he was saying how the art or the artist is akin to a shaman, and the art that is produced is something that is heard by him. That's something like, I can't remember what the word is, but just out of this world.
Okay.
Like a higher power, kind of like for a lot of artists, calls them to produce something.
Mm-hmm.
And that art resonates with a lot of people. And it's just a fascinating thing because sometimes I resonated with this a lot because, like, for example, when I write poetry, I'll just be like walking down the street and I just like a line pops up in my head. And for me, it's something that resonates a lot. And then I end up creating something more powerful that comes out of that. And it's just like the origin of that line. I don't know where the hell it came from. And I think for a lot of artists, as they were discussing in this session, they kind of have the same experience that, like, maybe they don't have an exact origin of a very specific piece, but it all just somehow comes together. And it's in that creative process, in the production of it, and the interpretation that other people take from it, that it just kind of creates a sort of like movement or life of its own. And, as we explore in the residency as well, like the Renaissance art movement, we're understanding what makes an art piece transcendental, what makes it everlasting. Um, yeah, Nicole, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely when we interview the artists in the next coming weeks, we'll talk more with them and their perspective. I feel like it's definitely more insightful than at least mine. But I think so. I think maybe I know like the first session, we talked about like Dante, like the Divine Comedy or
Mm-hmm.
comedy, and um, I think yeah, like this idea of like, or at least like that there's some sort of like universal value that like allowed this, I guess, poem book, whatever you want to, book of poems transcend so many generations and like to be so well known. And I mean, obviously, one was like it was so I guess ahead of its time that it basically was kind of to a certain extent like influenced a lot of the modern Italian language, just like this text, and it was read or it was easy to be read easily. It was easily read
Mm-hmm.
by a mass amount of people, and like this kind of adds to this. Like it's like something that has some sort of universal truth, if there is such,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes like accessible. And I think these are like the kind of things that we were talking about the residency is like how can you incorporate this into your work? And like some of the artists were like, well, sometimes it just like happens naturally, you don't actually think about it. But if there is like an academic way to approach this and like create art, like it'd be very interesting. These are kind of like ideas we're exploring. We don't want to get too deep into like what we talk in the residency,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to reveal like the artist's final projects. We're very excited for that, and I know we're gonna be having. I don't know if like we can say this yet. I'll keep this a secret. Never mind.
No, I'm intrigued too because I don't know what she was about to say.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
but
mean,
yeah.
I would actually. I think Sinbad did say this, but basically, like we hope to have more residencies like this in the future. So, and maybe we can. We're working on how to make this first digital primavera like
Mm-hmm.
Primavera Digitale. Oh my gosh, este, like how to make this accessible to everyone because again, like I think these ideas are very important and
Mm-hmm.
like the mission of this foundation is to make it accessible to everyone. Anyone who wants tools can have them,
Yeah.
which is so we'll see what happens with the artist residency, and we have hopefully more coming up in the future. But overall, good things, good things. I feel like we'll
Mm-hmm.
save more of this talk for next week. Oh my gosh, I'm like repeating words twice. I'm like exhausted. Apologies,
Yeah.
guys, and
You're just seeing us kind of
I'm
going
seeing
through the
things
thick
and
of it.
yeah, I'm seeing double. I'm speaking double.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm not seeing double. I ate something before this, so we're doing good.
Yeah.
I think my body's just like digesting, so it's like
It's not.
it's not letting
The
my brain
energy is
work.
not going to
My
the
brain's
words.
focusing on digesting and not
Yeah.
speaking. Apologies.
But we're trying things out too, like that's new, like with ourselves, our work schedules and the foundation. And it's kind of like I'm just reflecting to like when we had our first episode, I feel like we were just so much more
Passionate.
passionate. And I
No.
think we're just like, it's the middle of winter,
Yeah.
you know, where I don't think our heads are screwed on because we're just like, there's so much. Guys, we just need you to be here and like hold our hands and sing kumbaya.
I think it's just
um,
we've been working so hard for this festival,
yeah,
and like we're so close to it, and it's like the last
yeah,
it's like the last like round,
yeah.
and it's just like I know like once we see it, everything is just gonna make sense, and like life is
Mm,
gonna have meaning again.
yeah. But okay, let's kind of like, okay, take this on a more positive note.
I was actually gonna say something about how
Mm,
like it's gonna be really interesting to see like these podcasts, because I feel like it's kind of been they're gonna like follow our
yeah,
life. They're gonna like be like phases of our life and
so
like our
true.
moods. So we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, remember the first podcast? Like when we're
Yeah.
like doing really well with the foundation and
I
like
mean, we're still doing
no, we're
well,
still doing no,
but
I'm saying when, like we do like
oh,
then when we get to like our I mean, I meant like when we get to like the goals that we have like set
yeah, yeah.
for us, and then we
Hmm.
like look back. Like who knows, like in 10 years, we're like, oh my gosh, do you remember like our
True.
senior year of university, us sitting in my living room and like just
Yeah,
seeing like our little matching art shirts. Like
that was so
it's gonna be
cute.
like milestones like this podcast. So I think
God,
that's kind of like how I'm taking it now.
I think I'm getting emo currently because I'm just like, oh my god, I'm only 21 for like 5 more days too, and I'm just like, you said like in 10 years, and I'm like, fuck. Like, I remember like
Or
growing
in
up.
10 years we're only gonna be 32. That's okay.
31.
It's
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
fine. You know,
Nicole's trying to age me.
I base my life off of like Sex in the City, and I'm like those
Oh,
women were
true.
like in their 30s and they looked and they acted like they were like 22.
Yeah.
So
Also,
I'm
Charlotte was like a gallerist, wasn't she? Or an
yeah.
art dealer. I don't know which
I think
one.
she's I don't
Oh my
know.
god, our professor's so Charlotte coded.
Yeah.
I love her style, low
Yeah.
key.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, art as an investment. It's an interesting
Yeah.
class, but I don't know if I agree with everything that goes on, but or no, I think it's just
It's
it's I think it's interesting because it focuses on contemporary art, but I'm just like
mm, but I'd
how
rather be
sus-
informed on how it works
yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
not.
Not informed, of course. Like I think we're
Mm.
both taking it to be informed, but for me, it's more like thinking like to the future. Like, is this all like
Mm.
is this market that is kind of going on sustainable? Because she even said like I don't remember. Do you remember what she said about like Sotheby's being like basically almost going
Oh, in the
bankrupt?
financial, yeah, because
And
they had so many locations or
I
something, or
don't
was it
remember
a
the reason, but like
different
someone had to like
gallerist?
basically like bail them out or whatever they call it.
Yes, I remember that. I
And
don't remember who it
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. But she
Maybe
said that
like a
in
Middle
class.
Eastern fund.
Yeah, I don't know, but still, it's like, it's like the two, like, I mean, one of the biggest curation houses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, like in
Christie's and
markets,
Sotheby's.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. But I'm saying, like, obviously, like in business, like, sure, like top companies can collapse, but it's just kind of like scary, you know? It's like, how sustainable is their business model?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just to me, just sitting in that class and just seeing how much money like some of these things are like sold for,
I
and
know.
it's a lot that they talks about is like the brand, like it's sold because of
Mm-hmm.
a branding, and then I mean, obviously people buy art because they like it. And I feel like that's why all
Mm-hmm.
the art that I bought is because I liked it. But when she was talking about like people buy art because of the brand and because they have like something to prove to others, it's just like insane to me. I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of so
I don't know, man, if I had
fascinated.
that amount of money, maybe I'd be the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't judge from this side of
Yeah, my
it.
thing is I'm approaching it from a like perspective where like I get the fact like art has its meaning, and like I don't want to say that that's not whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that it is a reality, and it's a fascinating reality that some people will just invest in art because it's strictly an investment.
Hmm.
And I think we are so focused at the foundation to like empowering the meaning behind the art, and like kind of encouraging artists to like create something that's something like,
Well, yeah, because that's where like the
you
real
know,
value is, like cultural change in society.
yeah. But it's like that doesn't take away from the fact that also like,
No, there are people that are trying to make it as an investment.
no, but I was gonna say too, like the economy reflects society's values, and it's just like depending on like, for example, when we were looking at the comedian,
Yeah.
the art, the banana art, basil, whatever, like that.
Basil.
No, basil.
Sorry.
I'm like,
Basil. It's like a pizza
I
with
know,
basil.
right? But sorry, that made me distracted.
I'm sorry.
But it's just like a piece like that is just no matter the price tag, whatever, like screw the money because people will spend money on ridiculous things. Like I don't
Yeah.
care that people are investing that much into art. Like let the artists like be fed. My thing is just
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah, I
the
agree with that.
economy is so tied to like our values. Like I want to know what the art market, like people who are strictly investing, like how do they work? You know, how are they investing? Because I think
No,
both,
I'm saying it. I think it's no, no, no. I agree. It's valuable to
yeah,
learn. It's just frustrating to be like, why are we such a horrible society? Like this is because
yeah.
I don't know what she said.
But at
She
least
was
they're
like,
investing in things that are beautiful
yeah.
for the most part.
Well, is it because they're beautiful or just because they think they're gonna make money off of it?
I mean, it can be both, but I think that's the thing. Is just like at least they're investing that than strictly putting their money into a hedge fund, you know. And it's just like I think it's kind of like an interesting. I don't want to say it, an interesting vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's just like,
Well, no, I mean, I think no, no, no. I agree. Like, I understand the value of it, but it's just like I'm saying I understand the value of it now, but I'm just saying like how sustainable is it in the
mm,
future? Like, will this keep? Is this like going to be an ongoing trend? Is like
mm,
I agree that the importance, and I agree like I think it's amazing that some artists get to make this
mm,
kind of money. Well, with the commissions
yeah,
that like these auction houses get and whatever, but and dealers, but still like it's good that artists do have like the dream that they could potentially like
mm,
make a living off of their work, and I think that is important. But to me, it's just like how sustainable is it, like the long term?
yeah.
Like,
I
will
think
this
it's.
market always exist in this way, or like will this blockchain and like
Mm.
I
I
don't know
mean, I think it's
change?
just like for me, the one thing that fascinates a lot, and it fascinates me a lot, and it's tied to like what you're saying, is just the amount of wealth that people have in this world and the way that it's circulating around. Like sometimes it just
Hmm.
doesn't make sense. And I
Yeah.
think it's like you could really, once you have a large amount of wealth, you can do so much with it. And it's just
Hmm.
like to see people, like I think it was like Leonardo da Vinci's painting that sold for what was it, like $400 million or
Yeah, something
euros.
insane.
Like I've had other conversations with people who like just don't understand why certain pieces of art can have such a price tag.
Hmm.
And I think conceptually, when you think in such big numbers, no one can understand what a billion really looks like.
Yeah.
And so it's just like for someone to have $1 billion and spend half that on a painting, it's just like exciting, but also like what?
Yeah, but again, like they bought it, like what our professor was talking about. It's like the
Hmm.
reason why like is like the brand of like buying
Yeah.
like of the Da Vinci, like
Hmm.
by buying it, like because it was
Yeah, it was a
the
the
Saudi
divin
who bought it? It was one of
the
us,
yeah, the I think it was like the Prince of Saudi.
Saudi, yeah, no. And so like I think I don't know what happened to the meeting in the end, but I think didn't
He either
or I mean
donated it to a
there's like a
museum or just has it in his
potential. That's what I'm saying. There's
collection.
like a potential to like donate it to a museum,
Hmm.
and with like that you can bring more people
Of
to
course.
like that museum because you create like a brand like the same with like the Louvre and like
Hmm.
Da Vinci's other like Mona Lisa. Like people go just to see the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
And so, like in that sense, like there is cultural value, and I'm like, okay, I guess it makes sense to
Hmm.
spend that much money. But again, it goes back to the brand, not like the aesthetics of it. I mean,
Well, it's like
you can
she
argue
was,
that it's like a beautiful
yeah.
piece, but like
At least what she was saying in class, it was all about like she said the brand plus the marketing
yeah,
plus the price is what creates the positioning of it.
I mean, exactly. It
And it's like that's
has nothing to do with the beauty of it, basically.
yeah, but like it's like again, you could
That's what
argue
I'm
like,
saying. That's what I'm
but with
saying.
something like, for example, like Da Vinci's piece, anyone could recreate what he did, and it's more about like
Well, can they?
I think aesthetically, yes, but based on his story and what it meant in the context of him creating that work, I mean, nothing could
Well,
be
this kind of goes back to like what we
identical.
were talking about in like the um in the residency about like the creation of like the domo and then how like Brunelleschi like on purpose like made it so like no one could recreate it and like they still don't know what's going on. So, sorry, I was just thinking about that. But it's
Yeah,
just like I feel like maybe
I
recreating a Da
mean,
Vinci piece would be. I feel like he's so smart that he probably. I mean, I don't know.
maybe
To
yeah,
like recreate it and to a certain extent, like I think.
maybe there's no way that we could be super like I like recreate something one for one, but at the same time, this is all tied back to like if we get really into like the semantics of it, why should any society be attached to just things and objects,
Mm.
you know? And it's like wouldn't it be arbitrary to give one piece such value? Like we shouldn't be detached, we should be focused on other things. And then it's just like then it all leads to a circle because it's like what it symbolized, the Renaissance era. And for like a Middle Eastern
Mm-hmm.
um, person of such high status to want to bring that piece into their region and attract more like, I don't know, tourism and everything else. It's just like maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's also symbolism of like globalization and ideally more towards like Western values.
Yeah.
And I even think too, the other day I was contemplating on the difference between like consumerism and entertainment.
Hmm.
And I think,
What
oh,
is the
those,
difference?
yeah, like I don't know. Sometimes in certain societies, there's not much of a difference to me. I think in
Consumerism and
entertainment,
entertainment.
because
Okay.
entertainment, it can mean many different things. I think you could have recreational activities, some that
Well,
are free,
yeah, true. I don't know.
cultural activities that are free, or it can be strictly paid. Entertainment can also mean just like going to get food,
But
drinks.
like as a consumer, I guess in like economic terms, you would still like
But it's, I
consume
mean,
someone else's labor, like even if it's free. Someone like
yes.
for example, if like a product that we do at the nonprofit or like product like an event is free, but
Hmm.
the labor that it costs us to do it means that you're still consuming something else.
Yeah, and I'm not
Yeah,
arguing
no, I'm
about
just trying to
that.
understand like your
I'm
definition
just,
difference. I'm just like
yeah, and I
the
mean,
thoughts
you
are
could say that there
flowing.
is a difference. You could say that there isn't a difference. I was just trying to understand those two concepts, like
Hmm.
parallel to each other. And for me, I just like recently, just I think there are societies certainly structured about like you can't do anything unless you pay. And maybe there's a few things that you can do that are free to you, such as enjoying the nature around you. But it's true that there's some cities in the world or towns or regions where you cannot enjoy the nature around you for a majority of the time. And it's just like, what do you do in your free time then that isn't necessarily always going to be spending so much money all the time that gives you that dopamine hit, you know?
Mm.
And I think obviously, for example, when you go to consume recreational activities like going to a museum or whatever, and even though it's free, you're consuming the other person's labor, there's a difference in just doing that than living in another city where all you can do is go out and drink for fun.
And like buy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
fair.
go to the shopping mall, for example. And it's
Hmm.
just like for me,
Okay, I can see that.
do you kind of get where like I was like my train of thought was going to?
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything necessarily even productive about this like thought process I was having. It was just something that I was
Where did
like,
it come up? Like, how did it come about?
um,
Like, what else were
okay,
you
I
thinking
don't
about?
want because here's the thing. I don't want to like offend any of my potential Qatari listeners. But when I did go to Doha, I realized that to me it was very similar to Florida. And in the sense that like let's put
They're gonna have a heart attack. They're gonna be like, you compare us to
but
Florida.
think about it. At least think about like Doha and Miami, and maybe a more fair comparison would be Dubai and Miami, but I haven't been to Dubai, so I can't say. It's a city that's hot year round.
Hmm.
You essentially have it's not walkable, so you have to kind of like
Hmm.
Uber everywhere or drive everywhere, right? A big part of the activities, I mean, you can do water sports, you can enjoy some nature, but maybe not all the time. And again, I'm probably making a generalization here, so like correct me if I'm wrong, but this is from my brief experience. But there's other things that you could do, you know what I mean? Like you can like socialize, but you can like pay to socialize, or you can go to like a shopping mall. But then over time, I think if it's just those things,
Mm.
and I'm strictly speaking on from my experience, I feel like there'd be something else that needs to be more elaborated on, if that makes any sense. Like, okay, like I just think
Like a
that
cultural representation of something? Do you mean like that?
maybe just more access to like cultural things. And I think even in Florida, like I had like
What is Floridian culture?
Floridian culture would just be like, I mean, that's my thing. I hated living in Florida because I always felt like I couldn't walk anywhere I wanted to. I had to pay for every activity I wanted to do unless it was going to the beach.
Yeah.
And then there's a certain time where like you don't want to go to the beach every
Well,
single
we did try
day.
to go to a museum downtown Miami, but it was
Yeah,
closed. It was free. That's the only reason I was like, let's go.
true.
But I
But
guess
it's
I
just
think
that's
maybe
also
it's
strictly in one city.
yeah. But I think maybe it's not necessarily that there aren't free things. Maybe there's just like isn't like the culture of going to do these free things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think people rather
Mm-hmm.
go like spend money shopping or going drinks or getting expensive dinners than like going to a museum, for example. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my thing is also too. I just think that that's like the lack of access to those things that makes people want to do it less. I don't think we're socialized as a society to enjoy those things. I think, for example, maybe if you lived in more like, I mean, the thing is, I don't have a good answer.
Well, you were just saying, okay, from what I remember you telling me was like you just felt like it didn't have as good of an art scene, like Doha,
But then I
right?
talked to other people and they're like, yeah, there is a good art scene. And then
So
I
maybe
realized
that's what
that
I'm
it
saying.
depends on like
Who
who
you're
I'm like
around,
who
yeah.
I'm around, who can take me to those things. And I say this again as a 21-year-old girl, like I have not had enough experience living on this world, but I'm just like I feel like there are societies that do cater more to their cultural
Yeah, creative centers, yeah.
creative centers,
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. Yeah,
And it's just like I think there needs to be
entities.
more of that, like I think I found in Buenos Aires that it's a very Argentina's like a society, I think, and I've had many people tell me from like other countries that it's very like literary, more philosophical. I've encountered so many
Hippies.
artists, yeah, like hippies, and I think that it is like culture, like the arts, literature is something that is very valued in Argentina. Actually, in
Hmm.
Latin America as a whole, there's so many writers.
I think that could also have to do a bit with like the development.
Hmm.
I'm thinking at least like Miami, maybe not. Like Miami's been a while, and like Doha, like are like they've become like epicenters. That's not the right
Hmm.
word. It sounds like a pandemic, but like like very quickly they've become developed
Hmm.
very quickly in the last like 20, 30 years.
Hmm.
So I feel like maybe like that's why like they're still like I think eventually they will have. Well, I think Miami's probably doing that. I don't know. I don't know. I take it
Yeah,
back, but I don't
but
know.
this is what I'm saying. It's just like you have many modes of entertainment for people, and it's just like, or does entertainment need to exist? And you know what I'm saying? Like so much. 'Cause I'm thinking back to like human history. Obviously, there has been forms of like social gatherings, and like there's different like I don't know entertainment. I think I would have to speak to an anthropologist about the origins of it.
Yeah.
But it's like to me, I think that's just something that I've been trying to discover recently, and
Yeah.
I probably sound dumb right now because I don't have the
I don't think
answers,
so.
but
I mean, I think what you observed is right, but you probably just did see it from a specific
angle, yeah.
perspective. Yeah. I think there definitely are good art scenes. I mean, there's good artists everywhere in the world.
Mm,
But I think like maybe what you mean is like on their like general culture, it's not like super visible. And I feel like in some cultures
yeah.
it is.
I'm not necessarily even speaking to the fact that
Or not culture, but like the
there.
society.
I'm just saying that in cities that are more geared towards a consumerist audience, the way that you consume entertainment
Mm-hmm. It's
kind
different.
of maybe can. I just feel like there should be more modes of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? I
Like
don't know.
the amount of entertainment you get, is it like valued by the amount you pay for it, is what you're saying?
Maybe.
Like if it's free, then it's like not good enough. Like it's not good entertainment. You think maybe there's like that element? I mean, I don't know. I'm just making a crazy
I
question.
mean, it could be that. It could be something like that. It just could be also because of like um maybe just not. I honestly I don't have a good answer for you. I think I still need to formulate it well, but
So third thesis is gonna be this.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's an interesting question though. Like entertainment and
Like I
consumerism
remember years ago, probably like 2018.
years ago.
This
we're,
is
we're babies.
this was 7 years ago. Like that's a long
Don't
time
say
ago.
that to me. Stop
This is like the
it.
first article I had ever saved, and it was written by The Atlantic, and it was called The Religion of Workism. And it was
How old were you when
talking
you saved this?
15.
Okay, okay. I was
Yeah.
like 12. I can't do math. But yeah, 7 years ago, you're right.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm still 18. So, like 7 years ago, you were like 12. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, so this is hard for me that age. No, just forgot we got old.
But anyway, I was like reading this article and it was talking about how like philosophers or anthropologists, whoever it was, they foresaw a society that would have many more people spending their free time to leisure and like not knowing what it was that they wanted to spend that time on.
Hmm.
And it's just like now you look at where society has progressed
We're all just addicted to TikTok.
We're all addicted to like all of these social medias, and it reminds me of like that movie Wall-E. And I'm just like, I remember watching Wall-E when it came out, and I was like, ew, like how could society ever let anyone progress to this? And I look at us all now, and we're just like, we are that
But
movie.
I think like no, I think it's different. I think we're just not accustomed to it. But I think culture is just becoming digital, and I don't think it's necessarily good or bad.
Hmm.
We're just not used to it. Because I think I've seen some of the most creative things on TikTok. When you sent me like something, you're like, this is just like brain rot. And then it was like a video of like some guy speaking like really like aggressively, and then people just kept adding to it and like
Yeah.
making the story more complex. And she was like, this is just like the example of
This is
human brain
pure
rot.
brain rot.
And I thought I was like, but if you put this in like a museum exhibition, people would be like, huh, like this is
Yeah,
so,
like the
and
21st century.
exactly. And I was like, these are just like random people on the internet that like found this video funny and they just added onto it. So it's
Yeah.
like, even though it's like we see it as like brain rot because we're just like, oh, we're just spending all this time like just interacting with like non-physical things. But I think there's still like some value in that because like we would have never been able to create that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then these people weren't artists; like they were just like randoms. So it's like not only like are we allowing people that maybe didn't, I guess, identify as artists or naturally like would have okay to make this video happen before, like a bunch of artists would have had to get together, plan it, script it,
Yeah.
and it would have been such more complicated and like exclusive kind of thing that only these kind of people can do. But like now, just like a bunch of random
It's like
people.
more organic.
Yeah, it's more organic. So I think there's some.
Yeah.
There's I think there's some value in it. You know.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think it's kind of like
We should share the video on our page so that people can see it.
honestly, it just
and you guys can
scares
say,
me.
is it brain rot or a creative like human
Actually, yeah,
critique?
we should. I'd love to see everyone's replies. I'm gonna do that after this and be like, tune into our episode where we discuss this video. um, and we can talk about the answers in the next episode. But shit, I forgot what I was saying. This is kind of like I like how we're taking our opposite opinions of our last episode that we had, because we had an episode where both me and you were talking about connecting online, and I was more for like, yes, you can connect, and you were like, no, it's like harder.
Yeah.
And I feel like now we're like unswitched.
Well, I feel like
sides of
I've
it.
always connected with people by viewing. Like I view things. I don't like comment or I don't create things as much.
Right.
I think the creation is the part that scares me, like having an original thought because I don't, you know. But I think like actually viewing and connecting with people and like putting likes on stuff, like I love doing that.
Yeah. Although I did like sometimes I get like my badly informed opinions by just scrolling on Twitter too much. And there's like, what is it called? Forming a parasocial relationship, which basically means like when you think that you're closer to someone online than you are, like TikTok star or like a celebrity, that with the advent of like social media, people think they're way closer to these online personas than they are. And there's either those influencers or celebrities who think they're more connected to their fans than they are, or vice versa.
I feel like that totally happened to me when I met Diego Luna. I think that's my breakdown.
I think that's a different thing because I think his presence is more like
no, but it's still like
just
you're
the
so used to
production of
seeing production and seeing in real life and being like, you have never seen me before, but I've seen you so much. So I guess I could see that. I think, but rather it be at least I don't know,
like a one-sided.
Yeah, like I'd rather it be like, oh, I feel like I'm closer to them. I think, and like you know, feeling it's sort of entitlement to like them.
Yeah.
I think for me it was just like uncanny. I was just like, why is this human like real? Like, it was,
but I think
my brain couldn't wrap around that, like that it's like he was like 3-dimensional and not like 2. And I was just like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of like, I don't know, it's like its whole world, because it's like, again, too, like you forget that like the person that you're like thinking about, talking about, whatever, like is as human as you are. And like we could have tweeted the day before anything about Diego Luna because we're just like, haha, like my favorite actor, like he was great or he was horrible in this movie, you know? And then in person, like you would probably most likely not say he was horrible in the movie. You'd be like, oh wow, like that movie was incredible.
Really
like, oh
yeah,
my
I was
god.
saying that's like the protection of social media. People are more
candid.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing is like, should we be less candid in real life? And it's also too like just another phenomena, I guess.
Well, I think people in that sense, I think candidness, I don't know, I think being I don't know. Sometimes I think, like you said, like maybe saying an example,
Mm.
like, "Oh yeah, like I really like your movie," and you're not gonna tell them like it was shit. Obviously, like I think it's necessary to keep society at peace because if
Yeah.
everyone was just going around and so,
Hmm.
like, I mean, I think you can always give people very clear answers and be like, you know, like
Yeah.
you can like critique,
Hmm.
be like, "Oh, I like the movie, but like you know this is kind of bothering me." Like you can have a conversation about it. But when it's just like full on like insulting, I think people should not be doing that
Honestly,
in real
though,
life either.
I think there's,
Because just for like peace, like social, like
yeah. I feel like that's just different cultural societies, though, because
that's
it's
right.
like you could be a very polite society and say that, but then you could also insult someone else in the Spanish way of doing things, and I feel like you could also just come out of that very peacefully. Like I feel like a Spanish person would be like, "Your music, like your movie sucked," and the other would be like, "Okay, brother, like you're ugly," like,
And
and
then
then
they'll
they
cheers
laugh
and
and drink a beer
yeah,
together, like.
yeah. I guess that is the cultural thing.
And it's just I
But I
feel
think
like,
there's like things that are like horribly things,
yeah,
horribly said, no, horribly rude things that I don't
mhm,
think in any culture would be socially acceptable, you
no,
know? And like, I think like those things are like, that's where you like shouldn't be
yeah.
candid.
But one thing I was gonna comment on briefly though was just like I think what's interesting about social media is because you can have the polar opposite reaction of either meeting someone and like feeling like, oh my god, like you're a 3D person now, like what the hell, and you created this like kind of imaginary relationship with them in your head beforehand. But then you have the opposite end when, like, I don't know, for a day people were going on to like Redno instead of TikTok, so
Oh,
like
that
the
was so
Chinese social
hilarious.
media, yeah. And like I didn't actually go on it, but like I saw
No, I
like
didn't either.
people from like China interacting with like Americans, and like I think both governments have tried hard for that to not happen, and all of a sudden it was just happening.
It was
And it's
so
just like,
I think it was very interesting to see people building relationships with like others, and now I'm just seeing like all the
yeah.
Americans learning curse words in Chinese, and then someone said like, "Oh, I helped this girl with her English
uh,
homework," and I didn't know what the fuck was going on either, and then
yeah,
you know, it was just like real, like raw, like human. Like we've never had a universal. I mean, we've never had like
yeah,
an original thought. Like we're all like,
exactly.
I don't know, moments like that just made me realize like I'm like, oh my god, like I believe in globalization again. Like
Yeah.
it's like very like intimate like interactions. And I
Hmm.
was like, ugh,
And I
governments
think,
just stop fighting. It's
yeah.
just so much easier. The world would be such a better place.
And I think that's also kind of like what's very nice is like we're going beyond social media is exactly what you make of it, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And you could choose to be very like an original thinker and not necessarily have to just consume everything mindlessly. You can do it with intent, and you
Mm-hmm.
can also create things, and you could also interact very nice and kindly with other people and open because it is a very accessible world on there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just us finding the balance between converging our worlds together and like
Yeah.
making it all out balance peacefully. I don't know.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we got. I feel like this is probably the
Uh,
longest podcast episode. It's the one we've been the most exhausted, but you
I
know,
think we needed some inspiration though, because
yeah,
yeah,
we do. But it was a good philosophical talk,
yeah.
or not even philosophical.
I
Just
hope no one is offended by what I said. I don't mean anything with malice or
it's
negative connotations.
yeah,
Just my
agreed.
observations.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, agreed. I think that's the whole point. Is conversation. I don't know. I think people need to stop being as offended when it's like not coming
Mm,
from like a place of trying. Like someone that's not. No one's trying to hurt you. Like you're not trying to actively hurt someone or a group of society or people. You're
mhm.
trying to understand. You've seen an observation. I think this is like when people can kind of help you out and explain things. You know, without it being
Yeah.
like rude or condescending as well when they explain things because that's also not very nice.
Mm-mm.
It's like I think just equally as bad.
Yeah. But
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe we can wrap it up.
yeah,
We hope you guys enjoy your Sunday and
watch out for that tweet. Actually, this will be a retroactive tweet that I'm posting, so never mind. Forget I said that. Delete that from your mind.
All right.
Uh,
Well,
one day when I have Neuralink and activated, I'll be able to delete that. Yeah. Okay.
okay.
Peace out,
Peace
everyone.
out.
Tune in for our next episode. Love you all.
Wait,
Goodbye.
help. I think that was pretty good.